If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Is there actual evidence that a creature known as Bigfoot could exist? If so, what are the ramifications to our actual history? Are we on the verge of a major discovery? In this episode, we look at the possibility that Bigfoot research may lead to the actual proof of an elusive creature that has been seen and reported for as long as human history. Join us as we make the case for Bigfoot research in this episode of Wild and Weird Radio.
Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. Thanks for joining us again this week. As you heard in the introduction, don't forget, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You definitely want to do that to help yourself stay in the loop with everything we're doing. We've got a lot more content coming out on YouTube, weekly episodes, weekly live episodes, plus additional content that we add as we get stuff finished. So definitely want to stay in touch with us there by liking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that way every time something pops up on YouTube, you get an alert. If you're following us on Apple iTunes, give us that like and a 5-star review. Throw up some kind words there, or just a question or whatever you want to put. We don't really care. It's a 5 stars, all that matters, because it boosts us out there a little bit farther and lets everybody know that this is a good quality podcast.
Is it a good quality podcast?
Yeah, this is a good quality podcast. Yeah.
Is it? I mean, the ratings say so. I'm just wondering, what.
I mean, if you go and you listen to like a large swath of the podcasts that are in our genre, audio is on point. The video is on point. Yeah. The content is definitely on point because we know our stuff and we research it out. We don't just willy-nilly jump on here. It's good time.
Do you know that we missed our 3-year anniversary?
We did. It was 2 days ago, I think, wasn't it?
It was last week. This week that just passed.
Yeah, it was the 18th.
So for those people out there, I mean, it was actually on the 20th. Believe it or not.
420, baby.
Yeah,
Stay wild and weird.
It was.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. And we missed it. And because I was busy producing the what we have. We had the past episode. Well, I had the past episode. I had to write that, and we had to get that done. It's just been crazy. There's a lot of work behind this. People don't realize that.
I found you guys like a month after you started.
Really?
Actually, it was Emily who told me about you guys.
We recorded. We actually the 18th was when we recorded last week's episode. So we were tied up recording on a makeup day.
Yes, we did. Yes, that's why it was because it was the 21st when I had been mastering it for upload because it was late and wanted to get it out in time. So doing that, it was like, wait a minute. And it tells you when you created your podcast. I'm like, we missed I knew it was coming up. I just didn't know when it was.
Yeah, when we were recording, I was trying to go back on the Buzzsprout side, and I got so far down, and then we got caught up in another side of the.
Yep. So anyway, happy anniversary, Wild and Weird Radio, and all that fun stuff.
You guys have been with us since the year 2020.
That's unbelievable.
Thank you all.
Must be doing something right. I don't know.
So you're saying Emily found us before you did, Brandon?
Yeah, and then like a few weeks later, she bought me a Mothman shirt off your store.
Nice.
I've wore it so many times that the logo is totally gone off of it now.
That's awesome. That's some loyalty right there. Yeah.
Nice.
I like it.
I remember the first Christmas ornament that we did. You actually drove up here and met me at the house to get one of those. Or no, that was year 2. That was when we put them with the stockings and everything.
Oh, the stocking one. Yeah.
You got one of the bunker ones and the standard, right, Brandon?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and you like parked out in front of the house, and I stood there in like December because it was warm enough, and I was barefoot on the concrete in shorts.
Yeah, in shorts. Yeah,
sounds right. That sounds
We're thinking like, isn't he cold right now? We talked for like an hour.
Yeah, we did.
Unreal.
Good
Absolutely
times.
Unreal.
And now look at us. We're all here. We're all sitting around the table here on Wildwood Radio.
Virtual table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we ready for the news, guys? Do we got
I
any
think so.
news? Okay, I'm hitting this button. That was fun.
Always is.
It always is fun.
Yeah.
I was toyed with the idea of making a new one, but no, I kind of like that one. Just going to leave that one for another.
It's like a toss up between
2-3
that one
years.
and the Ovulus one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those, yeah.
Good times. Well,
all right.
First up in wild and weird news, my beard is the victim of a casualty. You guys are seeing my bare face for the first time.
Unbelievable.
First time ever on Wild and Weird Radio that you guys have seen my naked baby face.
It's crazy.
So
I don't know how I feel about that.
Ron hasn't seen this in ages.
It's been a long time.
My wife came back and saw me and said, "Who is this?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Very, very long time.
So, Brandon, what do we got?
So I think the first one and probably the most important one to mention is that on Friday, some people who were head of some intelligence committees within Washington had a secret meeting at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And the only information they would give to the public.
Right, Pat, you say?
Yep.
Huh.
And the only information they wanted to give us is they wanted to tell them everything that's going on up there. That's it.
What exactly is going on up there? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Foreign Technologies Department. I mean, it could be anything. I do find it amazing and kind of a coincidence that maybe, remember, I don't believe in those, that maybe it had something to do with the fact that we just had a little discussion on the official branch last Wednesday. And that's kind of weird, don't you think?
2 days later.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So 2 days after this, the Aero briefing, they had this.
They announced it Thursday.
Oh, they did. Okay, Thursday. Yeah. Well. All right then.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a little convenient. I'm sure they just want to convince everybody it's spy balloons. It's all
Well,
good.
and on top of that, you've also got the guy from Black Vault who is like requisitioning a tell-all, essentially, like a declassification of all this stuff that's going on.
I told you, it's push and shove, man. It's two sides pushing and shoving. When one comes out and says, this is happening, another one comes out and says, no, it's this, it's not that, it's something conventional, and let's make fun of UFOs again. And then they're like, well, we can't take UFOs seriously because, it's this gray area where it's, filled with ridicule. Yeah, you created that ridicule. Thanks. You can't.
It's like they're playing good cop and bad cop themselves.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it feels like for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And not just themselves, Brandon, more the public. They get caught in the middle of it. The media laps it up. They act like, whatever they say is gold. It doesn't matter what they say. It's just, whatever they say, they repeat it like the sponges that they are. And then everyone else is, making memes and posting it to Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. And soon it's either you believe it or it's a conspiracy theory. Real quick, I want to get to this. We talked about a few weeks ago, they were talking about remaking the X-Files.
Yeah.
Did you guys read the article why the X-Files needs to veer away from the conspiracy theory?
No, I didn't see that one.
First of all, you tell me how you can have an X-Files without conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, they want to focus on the Monster of the Week shows. That's what they call those. Monster of the Week shows. Remember those?
That's what Supernatural was for a long time.
Okay. Monster of the Week shows basically say, this is entertainment. It's just a fun little thing. The complexity of the conspiracy theory or the whole alien agenda that they did, they call that now they say that it would be bad. It would be in bad taste to do that because of the deep fakes and, all the, I don't know, maybe the truth is just too much and it might cause people to act. Well, it's here. And maybe it might just cause people to ask questions too much and actually use something called their brain. So let's focus on the Monster of the Week theory. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Let's just remember this is literally the poster.
Yes. That is. Yes.
In the office.
Yes. I mean, look, guys, here's the thing. You can whitewash all the shows you want. You can reimagine everything that you want and make it politically correct. I don't care. But you do not do this to X-Files. X-Files is based up on conspiracy theory. It's fun. Point. It's fun.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. It was to be fun. It's not to be literally taken seriously. And you know what?
Conspiracy and made it entertaining. They took the source material came from conspiracy theory, which became fact.
The Lone Gunman. They made fun of the whole thing with the Lone Gunman, which was a spinoff on its own.
Yep.
I mean, come on, guys. Let's be real here. You can't have the X-Files without a little bit of, hey, is that possible? There's nothing wrong with asking those questions, by the way. Want to know more? You really think it's all made up? Go back and watch last week's episode.
I mean, if they want to take that away from X-Files, they're taking away the...
I'm not watching it. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm not watching a Monsters of the Week episode. I'm not watching Scooby-Doo. X-Files is not Scooby-Doo.
So are they going to have Mulder and Scully in this remake?
No. This is
No, I don't think so. They haven't said.
Bringing in a diverse cast is what the new writer is doing. He's wanting to bring a more diverse casting because the original X-Files just didn't have a whole lot of representation, according to him. Which, I mean, in reality, it didn't. It was...
No.
It was mostly a bunch of, white FBI personnel chasing down white weirdos.
Well, what was the FBI like in the 90s?
I know, right? Yeah, you're exactly right. It was the FBI consisted of mostly Caucasian people.
Yeah, they did. I don't remember, honestly, and I'm okay with that. I really don't care about any of that. I don't care. I want to focus on
the quality. I want to focus on what's the
story.
The show was posted.
The acting.
The meat of the story. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want that, that deep underlying serial thing. That's what was great about the X-Files.
If they go this route, they won't make it through 26 episodes.
No, they won't. They won't make it through 12 episodes.
You can have an outstanding, just fantastic cast. But if you take it away from its roots, then your show is not, you're not going to have the old school people who watched X-Files, us. You're not going to have all the people who sat out in their vans listening to their scanners and all that stuff watching. They're not going to be tuning in. Instead, they're going to be hanging out with us over at Wildwood Radio.
That's right, because we are, by God, going to be looking for the truth. And it is out there, as Joe reminded us a little bit ago. So, yeah. And that's just how it is. I wanted to, that was a complete unscheduled tangent, but that really bothered me. And, I don't like that idea.
They better not change the theme song either.
Some things are sacred.
The theme song, like I'm okay with a remix on the theme song, but if they change that initial boo, boo, boo,
Mark Snow created the theme and it was perfect. Leave it alone.
Yep.
My ringtone on my phone forever.
Same here. And it freaked Ron out one time when we were driving through the TNT area.
So does that just start playing when you go?
It's an unknown number too.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. It's actually on the video.
We were talking about the Men in Black and some other stuff on camera.
Well, as soon as we pulled into the road toward the bunkers, it went off.
Yep.
Oh, when they brought the show back, did they do a Point Pleasant episode?
Not that I know of.
Not that I'm aware, but they did have the Men in Black several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but we were at the bunkers at one point, and it went off, and there was nobody there too. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, but, answer the phone. Static.
Yeah. It was. That's on the video. It's on one of our very old videos back here. If you want to go watch that, it's a trip.
Again.
Okay.
I think it's one of our second or third videos we posted on.
Yeah, I think it is. It's back there because it's right before the first Wild and Weird Con was supposed to happen. So yeah. Anyway, sorry to derail your news, Brandon, but I really felt strongly about that issue. I mean, I know other people are worried about other things, but I'm worried about the X-Files integrity. So
what do we got next, Brandon?
So Pentagon also made public that they have requested $36 million for them to investigate Havana syndrome, which most people say was their fault to begin with.
Sounds like a waste of money.
This is the this is the theory that a microwave beamed weapon was used in the embassy. Is this what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Right.
Microwave beam or frequency of some sort. Yeah.
Some sort. Yeah. Huh. $36 million, you say?
That just.
I mean, if everyone wants some money to continue their programs, let's maybe we should submit.
I was going to say we need to submit an official requisition.
Yeah, let's submit an official requisition grant for study ourselves.
Yeah.
What else?
Lord.
What else you guys got?
There was that one article you posted saying that NASA confirms that a cosmic object is so bright that it defies the known laws of physics.
The only reason that I even posted that was the fact that they admitted that something defied the laws of physics. And according to Sean Kirkpatrick, nothing can defy the laws of physics, basically. I mean, he didn't say that for quote, absolutely not. But if you read into what he's saying, he's literally saying, if we don't know what it is, it doesn't exist, or it's a foreign adversary. Everything's an adversary. I find that amazing that everything's an adversary.
Gotta be a big bad guy or you can't get money.
Don't you find that?
You got to get that defense contract money. You got to make them out to be bad, otherwise you don't get a check. Right. And let's be honest, that hearing that we had was Kirkpatrick on his knees groveling and begging for money.
It was pretty much saying, look, we did this, but we could do so much more. It was almost like how
many times did he say we got a skeleton crew? We're short staffed. I have to get back to work because we don't have anybody working.
Yeah.
He was like Oliver Twist.
Lisa, can I have some more?
Well, he even ended the show. It was a show. He even ended the whole meeting at the end when he said, well, if you don't hear from me, it's because I'm busy. Okay.
Yeah, I won't be talking to people afterwards. I have to get back to work.
I mean, really? Okay. What I saw was somebody who didn't want to be there. That's what I saw. The only reason he was there was because they had to have more funding and they had to justify the funding. And that's all I'm going to say about, the UAP hearing.
I want to underscore today that only a very small percentage of UAP reports display signatures that could reasonably be described as anomalous. The majority of unidentified objects reported to AARO demonstrate mundane characteristics of balloons, unmanned aerial systems, clutter, natural phenomena, or other readily explainable sources.
Except the ones that drop out of the sky from 80,000 feet to sea level in 2 seconds, going, Mach 20.
And into the ocean without disturbing the surface tension.
But that's okay. Those are not remarkable, people.
It's part of those small percentages.
Just a small percentage. Just a small percentage.
It's like when you make that perfect shot in basketball and the net doesn't move.
Joe,
things do that every time they go in the water.
Yeah, every time. Joe, why don't you remind us what needs to be the percentage? Because this is science, right? Yeah. They want science. They don't want, they don't want conjecture and theory and social media. That is not how science works. So tell us how science works, Joe. How many percentage do we need of these things to be real before we admit that we're just not it anymore? How many? What's the percentage? What's the mathematical percentage?
All it takes is a fraction to be the burden of proof. It doesn't take a whole lot. It doesn't take 100%. It takes 1%. It takes just the hint that something is there that gives us the significance to be able to look for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have things like the Green Bay Telescope. That's why we have things like the big eye in the sky. It's why we have things like all of these satellites floating around orbit, is because there's something we're looking for, and all we had was an idea.
Mm-hmm.
It started off with an idea to look, and then we got some anomalies. Those anomalies were worth looking into, and those anomalies have led down paths to find answers to certain things about our history, about our planet, and about our positioning in the universe and what's going on around us. So to say that a small percent,
50% at this point have not been resolved, according to Mr. Kirkpatrick.
yeah, 50% have not been resolved, which means that
They have 654 reports at this point, by the way. So I'm bringing
yes.
it up. Go ahead.
So a small percent that is truly anomalous means that there is something out there that we don't understand. And that means it's worth looking into. That is the same thing that I have said hundreds of times on Wildwood Radio, things I have said in front of people over and over and over at talks and presentations that we do. You can have 99 people out of 100 telling you a lie about a Bigfoot report or a UFO sighting or anything for that matter. But if that one person is telling the truth, that means there's something that we don't understand, and it justifies us looking into it.
Yep. Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree any more than that. It only takes one. And we're only going to find one if we stop saying everything's not true, or we can explain everything away.
How many times have we put the brakes on developmental projects because we found one salamander or one owl that was supposed to be extinct or that was undiscovered?
Yeah.
How many times have we pumped the brakes for one?
Yep.
That's all we'll leave it at that.
Yep. I like it.
Because this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the one.
All right. Well, let's just, I think that's it. News is good, right? We all go with the news for this week? All right. All right. So we're going to be talking about the one, basically, right? Just a different way of getting to the one and a different form of the one this time.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the current state, which we do this at least once or twice a year. The current state of Bigfoot research. We do the current state of UFO research several times a year because it changes so frequently. But Bigfoot, we hit the research side of Bigfoot at least once or twice a year. And this is that episode because there's actually been a lot going on recently.
Yeah.
First off, for anybody who doesn't know, Wild and Weird is the, I guess, umbrella organization that hosts various other things like Wild and Weird Radio and the Wild and Weird Con, Woodbooger Jamboree, Flatwoods Monster Convention, et cetera, et cetera. But we are also the owners, founders, and the people behind the West Virginia House Rangers Collective. And coincidentally enough, we were voted the Bigfoot Forum's Bigfoot Researchers of the Year this year for 2022, because it goes like a year in review, essentially. So, who better to give you this information, right?
I don't know. I mean, I want to know. All right, in this episode, I'm going to be playing the part of Congress. And this is kind of like the Arrow hearings. All right.
There we go.
You guys are going to justify to me, because I'm going to represent some of the people who are listening. I'm going to be representing some of the people who are listening who are on the fence, perhaps. Yeah. Justify to me and to them exactly what you're looking for. And is there any evidence to basically continue this? That's because a lot of people, we see it all the time. We see the skeptics come out and they say things like, it's almost fallen in the same line as some of the UAP/ET hypothesis. They will agree UAPs are real. They just won't go to the ET thing because it's wrapped in this blanket of, to them, complete speculation and conspiracy theory, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we can say the same thing about Bigfoot. Bigfoot research is also in the same lines of this. So explain to me, first of all, why is this important? I think that's the first question, and I'll go from there.
All right. Well, the reason that Bigfoot research and the continuation of Bigfoot research is important is first and foremost conservation. We're looking at a possible species that is existing alongside of us. And the reason that's important is because this is not the first time in our history that it's possible we are walking side by side with some other kind of hominid. There's so much stuff that has come out this year, like with Homo forensiensis out of Indonesia, being a living fossil, so to speak. And these things were called the Hobbit people. And 50,000 years ago, was when these small humans lived at the last we knew. But there are so many sightings in Indonesia around these things that are giving people the essentially the heebie-jeebies enough to go and report it. They're encountering these things and they're reporting it, and we're having the same phenomena happening here. Now, the biggest issue that we have here is that over in Indonesia, we're dealing with something in the 3 foot tall range. That's a lot easier to hide out in the forest when you're that size. Even look at a bear. A bear, if it stands fully erect, is, somewhere between 5.5, 6 feet tall. But it's a black bear, Ursa americana, black bear, stands up, roughly 6 feet tall. And they hide on all fours. We very seldomly see those. And here in West Virginia, from the central portion of our state down to the southernmost border of our state, it is the most densely populated forest with black bear in it. But how many sightings occur every single day? How many times do people report seeing black bear other than getting into some trash? The same thing goes with these Bigfoot reports. We have Bigfoot reports coming in on a regular basis across the country. But what throws, I think, a lot of people for a loop is some of these sizes that get reported. And it even throws us for a loop. The three of us, we don't necessarily agree with these big 10 foot, 12 foot sightings that are being reported in. I'm fairly certain that if they're seeing something that close, they're either way too far away to make a judgment call, or it's way closer to them than what they thought. But again, it goes back to that point. 99 people could send in a report just for try to say that they've, had a sighting to get attention. We have seen that. We've had sightings like that sent to us. But those ones, back to that one, if one out of those 100 is telling the truth about what they saw, then it warrants us going out. It warrants us going into the forest, walking around for miles, and recording everything that we possibly can, trying to collect as much data as humanly possible on the surroundings to see if it's a viable habitat for something.
Well, us aside, let's talk about some of these real research projects and foundations that have actually being levied against the question and, trying to push this thing out of the realm of, science fiction to some people and into the realm of science fact for others.
Well, the first thing up to bat is one that is ultimately going to fall probably short once again. And the reason we're leading with this specific report is because of its nature. Anybody who has been into Bigfoot research for any amount of time has heard of the Sasquatch Genome Project. if they haven't heard of that name specifically, then they've heard the name Melba Ketchum. Melba Ketchum is a doctor out of Texas, and she's a veterinarian. That's what she does for a living. And she did this big Bigfoot genome project years ago. And it was back in 2012, I believe, was the first one.
2008, I believe.
Well, it's
when the sample was brought in.
Everything came in.
Right. It's important to note where the sample originally originated from that she first.
Right.
That was from, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Well, that was from Josh Gates.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the samples.
That was one of the first samples. And that's what spurred it on. That's what inspired her to do this. So that in its own is, looked at as a possibility. I remember when that episode actually was on. And of course it got, shot down supposedly because it turns out it wasn't exactly what they were looking for, right?
Right. Correct. What they had found was a mixture of different type of rodent DNA, along with some other medium-sized mammals. And this is what you can expect from eDNA, guys. You're going to get so many unknowns. Mind you, the way that some of the DNA paneling was done is not exactly the way that DNA paneling should be done. I will send a link if you want to listen to an in-depth interview. I'll post a link in this, send it to Ron to have him put it in here for you guys to go and listen to an in-depth geneticist review of Ketchum's first run at this. Now, because he's a geneticist, is what he does, and he's trust me, you're going to get more from him than you would listening to me from doing this. Now, recently, just here in the last month or so, Dr. Ketchum has come out with a new drive on the eDNA side, and with some help of the guy from How to Hunt, she's received over $20,000 at this point. And the one of the results that she got back from her last testing was that this thing was like a half human hybrid of some sort. She detected in her paper, in her report, she was saying that she found the DNA of females, but no paternal DNA. It was missing. So when you start looking into that whole study and then you see the DNA that she got, like, it's easy to assume that there's possible mishandling of the collection specimens.
Back up just for a second. Did you say that the maternal DNA was there, but the paternal was missing?
Correct. It's a lot like the Paracas skulls.
It's exactly like the Paracas skulls.
So it's the same kind of thing. But when you start looking at what DNA results she was looking at, they weren't even human. There was some traces of human DNA, but it's not outside of the rules of contamination that it could have been somebody in the lab, somebody who was collecting even, because we don't.
Yep.
At that time, nobody really knew how to collect this stuff. eDNA sampling was really new from the independent side of things, and I'm sure there were people who were not collecting specimens properly. I mean,
well, we see that today. I mean, we have Bigfoot researchers out there today who are grabbing stuff, zipping it into Ziploc bags because they see, this one CSI or something, and that's how they collect data. It's not how you collect data.
No, it's one of the worst things that you can do for DNA evidence is actually put it in a plastic bag.
Yeah. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah, for anybody who wants to, just real quick, we teach this at our workshops. If you come across possible DNA, in it, like a hair or blood or any kind of tooth or nails or anything like that, anything, period, that could contain trace DNA, then you need to, 1, have a pair of gloves. 2, you need to have a paper envelope, some kind of organic matter to store this in, and then you can put it inside your plastic. But you have to put it in the paper first, because there's any kind of petroleum-based product is going to cause degradation rapidly. So taking it home in plastic baggie, throw it in your freezer until you can get it somewhere, that's not going to do it. You want to put it in paper. Yeah. So now to the positive, swinging back from the Genome Project, because there's so much clutter around the Genome Project, is we have the upcoming, a friend of ours, Doug Hodgick, is producing Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2. Anybody who watched 1 or has the book from the original, then you know exactly what this is. You know the people who are behind it. It's going to be quality. It's going to be done right. They're very, 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 very scientific minded. Their strategies and the universities that they're working with are universities that do tons and tons and tons of other research into genetics and DNA. They are following some of the latest developments with the things at the Nest site from the Olympic Project. They're following people who are out here on the East Coast. They're following.
Wait. For those who don't know, we're just kind of assuming everybody understands. No, you just said a Nest project.
Yes. So
why don't you brief people on the Nest?
Question,
yeah, because this is what they want to know.
This goes back to the first project. The Olympic Project back, it was early 2000s. They had actually found a possible nesting site. And it was out on an untimbered spot out in the Olympics. And they went out and they requested permission. You can go back and listen to our episode with Shane Corson, and he runs through all of the bases with how it all started, and where it went from there. And that's a phenomenal episode you can go listen to. And essentially what these are nests, multiple possible nests that are woven. There's huckleberry branches that are snapped off and they're woven in together with one another. And they overlook ravines in certain areas where there's food. And they're looked at as possible birthing sites where these creatures were. And it's hypothesis. They don't know if they're just going there and sleeping or that's where they live on a long-term basis. Or if these are like little beds that they build for themselves and they just walk a track over and over and over. So they've already got beds wherever they're going to. Nobody's really for sure. But Dr. Jeff Meldrum had been out there, as well as Cliff Barrickman and all the guys from the Olympic projects. They've taken, there's field biologists that are members of the Olympics, and they have taken proper eDNA samples and they've sent those off. Now the results have not been revealed, and I got a feeling we're going to see those results in Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2, because they've set on those results. Those results got submitted, I think 2 years ago. Like the samples got submitted. Yeah, they've got their answers. And I guarantee you every single one of them is sworn to secrecy to not let it leak, because this Legend Meets Science 2 has been in the works for about 2 years. And now they're trying to get it off the ground. If you want to go support it, it's over on Kickstarter, and you can kind of help fund that if you want. But they're back at it again. And this is going to be a very, very supposed to be very game-changing documentary for the Bigfoot topic.
And if they have that info, it will be.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait. I'm stoked to see what comes out from this one way or the other. Because even if there's partial human DNA, we know that in the eDNA sampling world that the Expedition Bigfoot crew did find trace troglodyte DNA in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, not very far from here, actually only 2 hours from where I'm sitting right now. And if you don't know what the troglodyte DNA would be, that'd be chimpanzee.
Oh.
So they found chimpanzee DNA. Now, you can do with that what you want. There's no zoos that I'm aware of in that area. It's a possibility that somebody has some kind of an illegal pet.
So maybe the DNA was just so close to human that the only thing they could associate it with.
It's very possible. There's a lot of people in the circles who are talking about that, and that is a hypothesis. I know that Dr. Mayor was we got to speak with her at CryptidCon but this past year, and she was pretty forthcoming with the information that she had. But again, she was only speaking hypothetically because there's no concrete sources, so to speak. It was traces of DNA that shouldn't have been there. And the fact that they found that, again, that warrants question. Why are there chimpanzee DNA being found out there in eastern Kentucky?
Yeah.
So, and I originally was one of the people who was immediately saying, well, wait a minute. They were running chimp pheromone at one point during the show. And based off what Maria had told us, was that would have almost come back like a way high octane chimpanzee. Had it been from contamination from that it would have been off the charts. Like, you have chimpanzee DNA, not trace amounts of it.
Yeah.
So that kind of made sense. But again, that's still something that kind of weighs on people's minds. Like, is it legit? Was it just degraded because it rained or something? But according to what we were told, it would have tested way higher percentage. But again, we're dealing with something there that is, we're getting in this weird zone of part hominid of some sort.
Interesting. And, aside from that bit of data, what would you say would be the biggest, most compelling evidence at this point that people should probably consider before making their mind up completely as to, if Bigfoot is just a legend or not?
Well, one of the biggest things is essentially human history has been rewritten, right? We've had many differences of what we once thought, and the human history went on a basically linear path, and suddenly we were Homo sapien was the last one standing. But we found that is way wrong. We were around with the Australopithecines. We were around with all these other hominids. We were around with what is it?
Neanderthal.
Yeah, Neanderthal. Australopithecines, which there's like a dozen of those. We were around with the multiple Homo species at one time, and it wasn't this neat linear grid. It was it's not that map that, like the flow chart that we saw going through elementary and high school.
Yeah, we actually existed in the same places at one point too.
We did. We coexisted. We didn't just exist in the same place. We coexisted and we intermingled. We were breeding back and forth.
You know where one area is where Neanderthal, human, and another one, I can't remember which one it was, coexisted together? Was it Israel?
Yeah. And it really completely disrupts a lot of these theories of where Homo sapien originated from in the first place. We have all of these findings and all of these fossil sites in Central and South Africa, but we're living alongside Australopithecines, Denisovans, Neanderthals. You can find, if you go back, Denisovan DNA, the only reason it was found was because there was like itty bitty fragments sitting in a fossil tray, and when they checked it, all of a sudden, oh wait, there's matches of this on 23andMe, and they started going back and it's like, holy crap, they were able to map the entire Denisovan genome because of that, and it's prior to like 15 years ago or so. Wasn't
that mostly in South Asia where that happened? Yeah. Where they were able to find them?
Yep, it was like all even up into like what modern day Russia is. So, you're dealing with all of these different DNA specimens. Like, you've got Homo floresiensis, Homo naledi, you've got Neanderthals, Denisovans, you've got Australopithecines, Homo sapiens sapien, all of us all together on the planet at one time, intermingling. Yeah, there were fights. Yeah, there were interbreeding, clearly. And ultimately, and what's funny is, we had hypothesized in one of the first fallen worlds that it's possible that, Homo sapien sapien became who we were, where we are, not because of what we were taught, which is how we were superior in fighting, that we fought better, we formed tools better, but because we actually bred them out. We out reproduced them, and then also integrated. We were the Borg.
Yeah.
Homo sapiens sapien was the original Borg.
Yeah, that goes to show you too how much DNA has came since the first time Melba did her research.
Yes. So I'm excited to see. I'm gonna watch the Genome Project. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna completely throw it out with the bathwater. I'm gonna watch it with a grain of salt because I do want to see what comes out of this. But
so
I'm more interested to see what comes out of the Olympics.
So there's a chance, is what I'm hearing, that we may have a hybrid species. There may be some human in these things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. There's a very strong possibility. It has
How
been
interesting.
It has been the theory for many moons that something along the lines of Australopithecine robustus or Boisei were where the tree split for them and then came down, and so we have these relic hominid. There's Meldrum has a whole paper devoted to this called the Relic Hominid Inquiry, RHI, and you can go read that, check that out. It's on I think Idaho University's website. It's where it's hosted. But yeah, we're dealing with the very real possibility that we are not alone on this planet in more ways than one.
How interesting.
Well, a lot of people don't realize too is that Neanderthal is not a direct ancestor of ours. They're actually a cousin of ours.
Right.
They split off, I think, at Australopithecine.
Yes.
If I remember right.
It would have been they would have split off from the very, very, the more ape-like relatives. They would have been the first ones that were kind of like the, us pink skins.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So we have evidence that suggests that, wow, I hear a lot of things there. I hear a lot of possibilities here.
There's so many possibilities here, and it goes back, and it goes back. I mean, as far as you want to take it back.
Yeah.
At this point now, they're not ruling out as much, but now, still modern scientists are like, yeah, rawr,
sure,
Bigfoot. No, that's dumb. But
right.
They're looking at all of these interminglings. They're looking at the entire rewriting of human history.
I think it'd be interesting if they were able to map the DNA of Gigantopithecus and then compare that to known Sasquatch DNA, if we can ever find some.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But I mean, it'd still be. I'm not so much in the Australia or the Gigantopithecus camp, just because it's a Pongan. Like a Pongans, for anybody who's just not a nerd, is that's the orangutan. That's the orangutan family, which could possibly include the orangutan and the orang pendek.
Orang pendek. I have a question that I'm sure has crossed a few people's mind at this point. We have these old, these ancient stories of these forest people.
Yeah, the other tribe, the big brother, the elder brother.
Right.
Yeah.
At any time, do we know that any First Nations or any paleo cultures, etc., all who kept records, they knew of other animals, correct?
They did.
We have stone carvings of monkeys. I've seen those before. Was there ever any indication that those
this new stuff, this new information coming out validates this more and more?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So did they, is there any indication that these ancient ancestors considered these just to be animals?
It's when,
and by animals, I mean known animals like chimpanzees, great apes.
It's very possible. I mean, if you look at some of the First Nations lore, specifically the hairy man, hairy man pictograph, it talks about the creation of mankind. The hairy man is the only one in that whole lineup that is not a known animal, but it's there. So why isn't it a known animal? Right. Why do we place it in mythology when all the others, when the fox, the eagle, the coyote?
That's what I'm getting at. Like I can recount so many native stories of, coyote, fox, rattlesnake, crow. They all have their names. They all have names, but there's no mention of monkey. Like that I know of. That's what I'm getting at.
Some of the native stories actually said they would take human women and have children with them too.
Yeah.
Well, I think we proved that because I don't see why that would ever stop if we were compatible. And it kind of sounds like, we were compatible. So we would still be compatible if there's still a grain of I guess, our DNA there.
What you got to question and ask is like, would that produce mules, so to speak? Like it brings into question like the whole, Albert Ottman story.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Refresh.
So Albert Ottman back in the day, good old Albert O, he was out, forcing, doing his thing out in the PNW, doing some gold mining and whatnot. And he fell asleep in his bivvy, and he got basically thrown over the shoulder of a large Sasquatch, taken to their little home gathering area and kept for several days, and was under the impression that they were wanting him to clap the cheeks of the younger female that was there and reproduce. That's what his impression was. And then he was able to escape. Now, mind you, this is the Campbell's condensed story. If you want to listen to the fullness of this, you can actually go back to Wildwood Radio, go back to the Albert Ottman story and check that out there.
The Campbell / Disney
throwbacks
version
tonight.
Yeah. So
many throwbacks. Perfect for an anniversary show.
You do 3 years, you trip over some stones on the way. Yeah. It's just...
So he was able to escape his captors by essentially giving the big guy the whole can of snuff, and he ate it, got sick, was throwing up all over the place, and he made a break for it and ran away. And he was found later downriver. I can't remember if it was on the Clackamas or not. I don't think it was on the Clackamas. I think it was somewhere else. Yeah. Clackamas is in Oregon. But anyway, he got away, and he didn't tell the story for like 30, 40 years afterwards. He told some close people, but he didn't actually go big with it until way later. So it sounds like a really wild story, but when you start seeing some of these DNA results,
makes you wonder, right? Because there's, it's data's data, just.
What if what if they found some Sasquatch DNA, and through a DNA bank, they found something that was related to Albert?
Oh man, that'd be hilarious.
I think one of the big issues with
that would be hilarious. Like somebody in the Ottman family takes a DNA test, like unknown donor from like some X and X lab.
You guys share a great grandfather, huh?
What?
I think that one of the biggest issues we have with this is we don't have DNA to compare it with.
Yeah. And you were speaking about the hair sample DNA. Like, Brandon had mentioned that if we could find it and compare it with Gigantopithecus at some point. Like, there have been dozens of hair samples that have been turned in. And there have been dozens of those reports where they go through and they do the testing, and then they come back inconclusive or unknown. This is a hair sample that's unknown origin.
Yeah.
It's not synthetic, it's organic, but it's an unknown origin. That right there is enough to throw up a ton of red flags, guys.
The thing that DNA analysts always say, every time that happens, they go, "Oh, it's probably contaminated. That's why it came up as unknown."
Right. I mean, it's the best way to resolve it and make it somebody else's problem.
Yep. An SCP.
Yeah. I mean, literally, we're dealing with the same thing here.
Yeah.
It really is, because, we can't say definitively that DNA is Sasquatch, because we don't know what that is.
Yeah, we don't have one
Melba is so
garage.
important.
There's not one sitting on a lab table anywhere.
Right.
Detected that we know.
Right. And even if there was, even if we pulled that DNA and maybe, what if it did show human, or some trace of human ancestry? Boy, that's going to really cause a lot of people to have to, try to explain that one away.
That's why I think Melba is so important, because she seems to be interested in the topic and she's wanting to get honest results, it seems like. But there were a lot of questions that came up with their method last time.
Well, you're going to have to have complete review of methodology before anyone takes it serious in academia, and that's the issue.
And that was the biggest problem with the first Genome project, was the methodology behind it, the collection. It was
Yeah. I mean, even when you have good methodology, you still can, when you're dealing with something like that, it's going to be a fight.
Yep.
There's just too many people who are stuck in their way. Same thing we see with the UAP issue. Same exact thing.
Now, one of the things that we also like to cover in this chat, we've given you guys the whys behind why we find it important. And the, what we find the value in doing Bigfoot research is, but we also like to talk about the tech and the gear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of advancements just in the last several years that have taken some military style gear or other different types of technology and expanded, or they're being used in ways that they necessarily weren't meant to be.
Yeah.
For example, Lidar.
Yeah.
That's the number one. We had seen it used in Expedition Bigfoot a few years back, where they were tracking game trails and using it to map out different things. But Ron stumbled across, thanks to some serendipitous talks, about how you can use Lidar to do other things.
Well, you can use LiDAR for multitudes of things. I mean, and I think that LiDAR eventually is going to be one of those devices that's going to actually allow us to do some real good crime scene reconstructions. Let's put it that way.
Well, tell them about what you had discovered with in that talk with Eli.
Oh, well, that's when I was talking with Eli Watson. We were just discussing, his usage of LiDAR and basically just a phone LiDAR. Yeah. Well, I've used those systems before, but I've never used LiDAR. I've used the scanning technology before for just in the field catching little 3D models of things, and because it's easier to do that than to model it yourself sometimes. Yeah. So he was telling me how they were using it to document some tracks, and I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. So I tried it. It's pretty amazing. And this is just with, what's capable on a phone. A dedicated LiDAR system is far more powerful than this, by the way.
Absolutely.
And with a dedicated LiDAR system, you could technically go right out into the field, find a whole trackway that you couldn't see with your eyes, mind you. And
just think how that would have worked with Wanberry the first time we were there. We saw the additional 5 or 6 footsteps.
Right.
Couldn't do anything with them.
And this would have at least showed where they were. It would have showed, exactly what they would have looked like. It would have shown, because this is all data. This is all data, how deep the imprint went. It could be worked out later with other programs and applications that could show.
You're saying it can recreate
force.
Footprints?
It could literally recreate the footprints. It could show you. It could show you a 3D representation. In theory, it can show you a 3D representation of what it took to put those footprints in the ground, how heavy that thing was that made them, and the distance. Not to mention create a actual 3D representation of the negative of that, which would be the positive foot, the foot itself.
Yeah,
not more
bottom
so.
foot.
Yeah, the bottom foot. So a virtual cast, if you will. That technology is real. It's here. It's here right now. It's very expensive. We can play with the cheaper stuff with, with our phones and whatnot. But that technology is real. It's the same technology that they're flying over the Yucatan with and pulling out these giant cities. They're just hidden behind trees. Lidar offers it's just an amazing tool and offers a great advantage, in my opinion. Probably one of the best tools we have right now.
I agree. It's one of the coolest ones for sure.
If we stick that on a drone,
yep,
you can imagine what can be
possible,
found.
Do you think, for LiDAR to do an immediate scan of a forest and see what animals were running around?
It's absolutely possible.
Yeah, they're not, because of the movement, they're not going to show up, but they're going to show up as a blob.
Yeah.
If it's standing still and static, you'll catch it. But if it's moving, think of it like a long exposure, and you're taking your hand and swiping it across, you're going to get a spear.
My thing,
maybe when the technology gets better, it could take a snapshot quicker. Maybe it would be able to capture them better.
Maybe.
Well,
it's possible. It's possible. I think it just comes down to resolution. It comes down to a few things. I think the greatest promise is drones. Infrared drones, LiDAR drones, and drone swarms, which I've mentioned before. I think that it would be, you'd have a mothership, and the mothership would scout the area. Once it finds the thing, then the little ones would be, coming out there and zipping through the forest, and they would get it from all sides. Now you're talking about recreating something in LiDAR, which is literally a 360-degree representation of the event, the being, whatever that's there. And that would be irrefutable, in my opinion, proof that, look, this is it. It's right here. You could go back and look at that data literally and recreate that in like a virtual reality landscape. We're playing with something like that right now. We'll let you know how that goes later on. But with the drones and whatnot, we're not. But with virtual reality and crime scene, recreations, where we'll be able to walk back and look at a site long after we're gone from that site, or after the weather's already taken over that site, or who knows what, right?
Yep.
It gives us an actual ability to holodeck it, so to speak. And we can just go back in and look at that at any time in the future that we want to.
It's really fun. Is really fun technology we'll be able to use.
So these people are doing this stuff too, right? And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, I really think that at this point, Bigfoot, UFOs, the whole thing, they're on the losing end of a technology race. And the race is going to catch up with them unless they are truly as intelligent as some believe. And I think in the UAP case, they may be. But with Bigfoot, I think we might actually stand a chance of proving this one. Probably before aliens, to be honest.
And again, we're sitting here, we're only working the angle from one hypothesis.
Yeah.
We don't rule out anything. There's too many other weird reports that go along with Bigfoot sightings to throw it out with the bathwater.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also way too many just very kind of biological standpoint, mundane reports out.
Well, I'm focusing more on this report as biological. I think that we've stayed more in the flesh and blood camp with this at this point.
Yeah.
And if we go any further, then that is on the table. I'm sorry if that offends people. It is on the table, and we're not going to walk away from it just because it looks uncomfortable. This is what Arrow's doing.
Yeah,
we're not Arrow. Say that again.
I said we've never shied away from it.
We can't.
There were times when when both of us were in disagreement over certain things, but we still left it on the table.
Yeah.
And now talking about the use of technology, you look back at what was captured at Wild and Weird Con.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both nights for all that's worth.
Good point. Yeah.
But the first night during the workshop investigation, and you get out there, you're hearing something moving using parabolic. So you train a thermal on that spot. Lo and behold, what do you got?
Yeah. I don't know what it was. It was something. There are people who say that it was just that's just a hunter down there who can see in the dark, and apparently somehow, I guess.
I tell you what, I can't remember if I told you guys this yet or not, but Mike Ann is friends with one of the guys. It's like he used to work for FLIR and did a lot of training, but now he works for one of their competitors, still doing the training.
Yeah.
Mike Ann of Tactical Sasquatch Research. It's Tactical Sasquatch Research, Tactical Bigfoot Research. I can't remember which one he uses. But he's also got the Where's My Sage podcast. So go check them out. They're great folks. Mike Ann and his co-host, they're fantastic people. Anywho, he was showing that thermal footage to that guy that does the training. He said, man, I can't tell you what that is, but it's big. It's bigger than a human. I can tell you that much right now. Even knowing that it's just zoomed in a hair, he's like, that's still huge.
Yeah, it is huge. You can see the body proportions.
Yeah, especially in the side-by-side.
The proportions are not human proportions. I don't know what that is. It just doesn't look like a human proportion to me. I'm sorry. I know it sounds biased to people because, he shot it. He wants it to be a Bigfoot. I don't know what it is. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just brought the data to the table, and the rest of you guys can argue over that. I really don't care.
Yeah,
but,
it's Bigfoot.
But I know. That's what Cliff said. I was like, between you and me, what do you think? He's like, I think you caught a Bigfoot. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right then.
Yep. He actually sat there and noticed, and he's like, if it was anybody else, I would question it. He said, I really
he did say
guys.
That. Yeah.
He's like, I really trust you guys. You've never given me any kind of reason to doubt it. And he saw it, and Bobo saw it, and Meldrum has seen. Everybody's seen it at this point.
Yeah, a lot of people have seen that footage at this point.
It's a pretty good consensus that we captured the target subject.
I'm surprised you guys didn't inspire them to revive finding Bigfoot again.
Well, I did one time.
We're working on it.
I did that one time already. And we actually, what's crazy is, I can't remember if the rant was on here or if it was somewhere else, but if you watched the final episode of their reunion show, I took them out that night in one of our research areas, and on a thermal drone, we captured a large object that moved across a 6-foot wide creek in one bound, like one stride, didn't jump, but just took one stride. And then the guys who were flying the drones, it was their first time doing a night operation. They landed the drone and turned the dumb thing off, and it deleted the file. They had it captured. Bobo saw it. All the people at base camp saw it. It was right between me and Cliff and Matt and Renee. And again, like, it makes me sick to my stomach to know that we had them in the spot. And I had them right there where we had just had a sighting, like I think it was 2 days prior, because we were out with their production team, and John and the other John that was there, they both saw something. And then I was like trying to scurry to try to figure out what it was. So it was 2 days prior, and it was in a zone that we had a sighting a couple weeks prior. And it was just too good to be true. And then, man, they turned the sinking drone off, and like, I just want to scream. And when Cliff had those guys on the podcast talking about it, like, I sat in my vehicle and I screamed. I was so mad. We were that close. We had it in one of our research zones. We had it. And then somebody screwed it up.
That would have been the best evidence that was ever shown on Finding Bigfoot.
Oh, it was hands down. It would have been. And like, that's what everybody was saying. Everybody was livid. And now, like we understood now, because me and Cliff were in the dark, literally, because we were out there in that area where we saw that ball of light. Me and the camera guy saw the ball of light while Cliff was scoping, looking over where we heard a howl. And when we got back to base camp right there, everybody was ready to kill each other. They were this close to just like strangling each other. And we didn't understand what all the tension was about until like a good while later. But,
was Renee there at that time?
Oh yeah, Renee was there. Renee was even like really, really, really irritated. And Renee's like, we've been meaning to have Renee on for 2 years now, but schedule conflicts have constantly popped up and off. And but she's going to come on the show soon. We're going to get to hang out with her here in 2 weeks, and we're going to try to get her get a show nailed down then. But yeah, even Renee, who is billed as the show's skeptic, who really isn't a skeptic at all, she was just livid with what had happened. Everybody was livid. Like me and Cliff were like, well, what's going on? What just happened? We've been
I was going to say one
Bigfoot
professional
stuff.
scientist would have been the most angry about it.
Oh yeah, she was hot. And now Moneymaker, I think, was the maddest one of all, because I remember when he was doing his final like end of the show. Well, here we are. That whole thing, like, there's Bigfoot in West Virginia. That, like, how they always do it every episode. Like, he was so mad. He was so short. He was like, "Yep, well, we were out here. We had a good time, and there's Bigfoot here," and just walked off the scene. And they had to calm him down to get him to come back on. And he said, "Matt, like, at least pretend like you're having a good time right now." Because he was just so mad. And then me and Cliff found out like about a month after what had happened, and it just yeah. Like I found out. Cliff probably found out way after, but like I found out a month after.
So what you're saying is there's for the people who don't believe in Bigfoot, then all they need to do really is just to go out and look. That's really what you're saying, because you should be able to find something, right? I mean,
but be skeptical.
Always
Please,
be skeptical.
Go out and be skeptical about what you're seeing, but just record the data and then let the data speak for itself. That's very good, I think, because how often do we see these videos and these photos of trees? Yep.
And shadows. Yeah, it's pareidolia. If it's not there, it's not there. Don't try to make it there. I didn't try to make it there. Obviously, you can see that's what's there is what's there. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be. If you squint really hard, you can make this out, as Sean Kirkpatrick said.
Yeah.
I can give you an example from my own amateur experience. The one time that I've gone out so far, I didn't find any evidence of Bigfoot, but I found plenty of evidence of flora and fauna they could eat on.
Right.
Fully suggest there's plenty of food out there for them. There's plenty of places for them to hide too. So, I mean, that itself is finding evidence.
Right. But if you squint really hard, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, if you look at it...
Further, if you later follow this all the way to end, it starts to resolve itself into that blob that's in that picture in the top left, right? And if you squint, it looks like an aircraft because it actually turns.
Hey, Ron, how did you enjoy that hand-drawn red circle that they put on that picture?
It works, man. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I expected. So... But yeah, I think that's pretty much where the Bigfoot research lies right now, at least the physical Bigfoot research. There's not much in any other branch at this point, as far as I'm concerned. With the paranormal side of it, it's all the same stuff. There isn't any breakthrough technologies there, other than people using a few more EMF gadgets, I guess. And,
right.
We have seen a lot of people starting to use radiation monitors, as we have suggested. Yep. That's good to see, because it may actually be a good thing for you to do. And we've seen, based off of the whole Skinwalker Ranch thing, people using, including us, spectrum analyzers. There's all kinds of that kind of stuff going on. But unless... we're dealing with paranormal, that really doesn't matter. A physical creature shouldn't have anything to do with any of that. So I just want to back that up and preface that really closely that we have two sides of something here. And the technology to find those things is a little different, in my opinion. You're right?
No, you're right. But now, one of the things that we could use the EMF and some of the trifield and whatnot is to find these strange electromagnetic signatures of the Earth, because we know that birds use them.
Right.
We know that turtles use them. We know that all kinds of other animals use them. So why wouldn't another organic biological creature be using them as well? So if we can find some of those and essentially follow them like a map, then we might stand a decent chance of getting something else on camera.
Yeah, you could find some kind of a hidden or invisible Sasquatch superhighway for all we know. It's possible. It's totally
very
possible.
If you could find one of those EMF signatures, and if it coalesces with a game trail.
Right. Exactly. So it's definitely possible, right? So the last question on this mess, and it's not one of my favorite subjects, but it could be a tool in this AI. When it's not stealing art and trying to take over the world, could AI actually be used as a tool to help us in this quest?
It's very possible, because we have a grab bag of results that come out of this. One of the people that is over on the Bigfoot forums over there, Mike Zimmer, he had posted up his conversation that he had with Deep AI. And he asked specifically what evidence exists that Sasquatch is a real animal existing on all continents, including Australia, North America, South America, Europe, and Asia, with evidence of trackways and footprints. Why are Sasquatch rarely seen? So there were two kind of questions bedded in here. And the Deep AI responded, evidence of Sasquatch's existence include trackways, footprints, hair samples, eyewitness accounts, vocalizations, and even photographic and video evidence. While sightings are rare, discovering these signs proves that Sasquatch is indeed a real inhabitant of multiple continents, including Australia, and the list that he'd spewed out. One theory as to why sightings of them are so rare is that they have an excellent understanding of their environment and have developed skills to hide from humans. Yep. Then there was another AI rambling. Ron, do you have that one ready?
Which one?
That described the physiology?
Oh, no, I do not. I was just asking about, do you think that we're going to, is it worthy? I know we can ask AI questions and it can spout out these, answers that it wants us to hear. It's a glorified version of it where it's trying to act like nothing more than a smart Google, so to speak. But could this be used in some kind of an application is what I'm getting at. Like, could we feed all of it?
If you load all of your sighting data, right? Like if you were to load all of the data that you record into some kind of AI software, or just continually feed it your data, and then ask it to generate a map of where the next sighting is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Is there a pattern? Can it find a pattern? I think that's what they're also doing with Arrow, and they're trying to do with the UAP search. They're doing the exact same thing. They're gathering all the data and looking for AI to make them a pattern, because it can analyze this faster than we ever could. Data.
And we've seen stuff on TV shows where they had this master pattern, or they had this an algorithm that they used, which was really just BFRO and independent sighting data,
right?
That was all compiled together, and like any of us could have done it within a couple hours or so.
Well,
but we could have done that, like I said, within a couple hours. You're talking about something that you could plug in the information, say, hey, go get it. Bam, it reproduces almost immediately and says, here's where your next sighting is likely to take place.
It's very possible that it could be done. I see that may be the only good thing about AI.
Yeah.
If you have like a trail cam that has like 1,000 pictures on an SD card, you can have it scan all of your pictures.
sound, frequencies.
Yeah.
I mean, but it could actually be used in a good way is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, like that,
absolutely. As much as I have a distaste for AI,
Mm-hmm.
there is a good chance that it could be used for this type of research.
Well, it's a tool. I think that's important. We'll be going over this in AI Wars, but it's a tool. It's just being misused by a lot of people at this point, especially the fake artists. If you're using an AI to generate, not create, generate art, that is an art generation. And you may argue that it's no different than a tool, but it is. It's completely different.
I'll give you a fair comparison for that. That's like those rich kids who play video games and use their parents' credit card to buy all kinds of cool stuff for their game and be like, look at me, I'm so
level
good at
up
this game.
Level up, pay for play, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yep.
Well, my favorite thing was the analogy I heard today. I sent it to Joe where someone was talking about, oh, well, because they used a guitar, does that mean the blah, blah? No, because if I tell my guitar to play something and it starts playing music, I'm going to probably run out of the room screaming.
It's possessed.
It's a possessed guitar. I'm calling Zach Bagans is where I'm going. Let's be real.
Sell it to him for $50,000.
That's my plan. But I am...
Possessed.
But either way, it's not me. I didn't do it. The ghost did it. Okay. Whoever, my guitar starts playing itself. That's not me. I didn't do that. So what that would work out to be in art, honestly, I thought about this. So what this would work out to be would be like, if I hired you, Joe, or I didn't hire you. Well, sure, I'll hire you, but I'm not going to pay you. So Joe, go make me a Bigfoot sticker. Joe makes me a Bigfoot sticker. He does a wonderful job. It's awesome. Okay, Joe, here, this is yours. I'm going to take this now. All right, I take this. I claim it now as my own. What did I just do? I just committed art theft. Did I? Or did I just...
There was a transaction made.
It was a transaction. So that was a work for hire.
Right.
But I'm still not the artist. And you still retain the original copyright.
You fed me a prompt. I produced it.
Right.
For funds, for money.
Exactly. So you are still the copyright artist. You're the artist of that work, and you will be. And you also retain the copyright of that work unless you sell that as well. You did not sell me that, though. You sold me the art itself. This is how that argument gets pretty much destroyed when someone says that, because by legal rights, it's a work for hire. Whether you are hiring and paying, to play with the software, or whether you are, paying the AI in some other way, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. And there's a really good example of what he's holding right there.
This guy was the latest for us.
Yeah, those who are listening on podcast right now, on Apple, iTunes, all that kind of stuff, Amazon, wherever you listen on, go over to the YouTube and queue up about right now, and you're going to see what we're talking about.
It's going to be about an hour 15, hour 20 in, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, about hour 20 in.
And when you're looking at this statue that I'm holding, this was reproduced in like a 3D art Photoshop-esque kind of thing using an AI. And the hair's in the same place. The shadows fall in the same place. The wrinkles are in the same place. They snagged it out of the Etsy shop photos where, because you can Google it and find it.
Yeah, it's archived and it's out there, and it's source material for these things.
Yeah. And that was used.
Yeah. So that is when I'm
get paid for it. We didn't get a dime.
Nope.
And whenever I confronted the person who posted it, radio silence.
Of course. But here's what's going to happen. And this is what these people don't get. Now they're using this stuff. We're going to talk more about this on AI Wars, I swear. But right now I'm just going to say this because there's so many people who are using this stuff and thinking they're in the clear. You're not in the clear. Yeah. It's going to come back to you one day, and it's not going to be good. It will be you that it comes back to. It won't be the company who created the AI, because they're going to. It will be on the end user. There will be an end user license agreement that you will have to agree to before you use that software in the future. And even when it's updated, it may be as part of an update. You won't even know it. But I'll guarantee you.
Click accept and go.
Guarantee it. I will guarantee it. So be very careful if you decide to use that for any kind of commercial means. For personal use, I really don't care. But don't think that if you use something like that and an artist comes after you, that they cannot say something. They most definitely can and will say something. And furthermore, we will not have anyone at any of our events who is using generated art.
Yep. Within a few days of that AI art stuff popping up, I immediately went out and placed a blanket ban for all of Wild and Weird's events to block the use and sale of AI art. Because one, it's illegal, and two, it is extremely unethical. It's modern day art thievery. But again,
it's exactly what it is.
We'll cover that on AI Wars.
Yes, we will. But we do invite others to take that stand as well. And if you don't, well, that's okay too, because, you know, as technology moves forward, so must the laws, and they will. Okay.
Well, guys, that is basically the roundup here. Brandon, you got anything you want to add in? Or any questions or anything like that you'd want to throw out?
So as for like the traditional methods of Bigfoot research, outside of the technology and stuff, how has that changed in the last few years?
It surprisingly and wonderfully, it has taken the approach that we were pushing for the last few years publicly, and we're seeing more of a naturalist approach, which is going out, collecting data on the environment, collecting data on the fauna, and seeing if habitats are even viable in the first place.
I have seen a lot more people, especially after Russ's first book came out, talking about the vegetation and stuff in the areas and going into detail about the berries and natural fruits and whatnot.
Yep.
That has been talked about a lot more lately.
Yeah. And, you know, it was great to be able to help him work on that list and go out and find all of those species that were included in Appalachian Bigfoot. And because I'm the one that compiled that list and sent that over to him, and all of those edibles were all found between two hollers that were less than 5 miles apart.
Wow.
That's just, we didn't include that in the book. That wasn't put in there. I didn't include that in my notes to him, but just for anybody listening, that was in two hollers less than 5 miles apart.
That just gives you an idea of how lush the state is.
Yeah.
Full of
Absolutely.
vegetation and stuff.
So
Perfect.
seeing that more naturalist approach and the citizen science approach has been refreshing, because, you know, you still have a ton of people running out there like taking pictures of shadows and trees and tree structures and whatnot. That's everywhere. You're never going to get rid of it. But the serious investigators, it's what they're doing. They're taking a more naturalist approach, like a modern day naturalist approach. And it's really nice to see that, because we were part of the leading edge to push for that.
Yeah, I think that's causing more people to actually look at the possibility more than they used to. People used to just think of it as like a giant monster that lived out in the woods. Now people are thinking of it more as an animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Ron, do you have anything? Any last bits?
No, I think it's fantastic. I think next year when we do this, we'll probably get, to hear about some more incredible technology. But I really believe that we are close to finding something and proving that it's there. Whatever that is, I can't say. Again, and we call it Bigfoot. We call it many things. It has multiple names, and it's had multiple names for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, passed down by tribes and around the world, mind you. Like I said, possibly there's a possibility that this thing, it may actually predate humans. Who knows at this point? I don't know. But I know it predates modern humans. Based upon what we found, it predates modern humans for a fact. It just never really evolved like the rest of them for some reason.
Well, I agree with you there. And thank you guys for listening. Anybody who's listening, if you've got any comments or anything that you want to share with us regarding this topic, feel free to send them into wildandweirdwv@gmail.com. Or if you've had a Bigfoot sighting and you want to report it to us, if you're in our area, we will investigate it. We will come out and we will talk to you. We'll do an interview. We got one that we got to follow up on here real soon. We'll reach out. And if you're not in our immediate area where we can actually get to you, we know investigators who are. It's a very good chance. So we'll be able to get somebody to come out and do their due diligence. So you can go over to wildandweirdwv.com, wildandweirdwv.com, and hit the report a sighting tab and fill out all of the data that you possibly can and send it in. We will get it into the hands that it needs to be into, and make sure that the due diligence is done to retrieve any data possible. If you've got if anything you want to share on the show, if you want to come and join us on Wild and Weird Radio Live or over here on the podcast, you can reach out to us at wildandweirdwv@gmail.com. Remember, if you want to catch us out, tomorrow will be your first chance for this year, and that is going to be at MonsterCon in Richwood, West Virginia. That's going to be Dave Spink's World of Weird. There's going to be a couple buildings that is going to float in between, but there's a lot of great speakers. We're going to be there speaking, and you're going to be able to hear and see some of the data that we've been talking about today.
The meet and greet is the Friday evening as well, so they'll actually be able to come over and talk with us and whatnot at that point too. But you can come talk to us anyway. We don't care. So
absolutely,
every day's a meet and greet with us.
Absolutely. Then right after that, we got OBC. And then a couple weeks after that, you can come hang out with us at the Wood Booger Jamboree on May 20th. That is a show that we host in Racine, West Virginia. You want to come out, hang out. It's going to be good time, good food.
Free. It's free.
Free for you guys to attend. Tons of great vendors. It's going to be a blast, y'all. Last year was amazing. Over 1,000 people. Come out, hang out with us, have a good time.
I love that. Peace, love, and Bigfoot. Didn't you say that was on a t-shirt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have that in the store.
Well, speaking of the store, if you want to continue to support Wild and Weird Radio and keep it free for eons and eons to come, head on over to wildandweirdwv.com, click on the store tab, and you're going to be able to go to a plethora of different places to get our wares and help support the show. We appreciate every little bit of it. Like Brandon said, he was wearing a Mothman shirt to the point where it rag-tagged out. Now we got to get him a new one. You can be just like Brandon one day, guys, and have to get a new shirt from us. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up there. Then we've got, I think that's it for the final their announcements. Yeah, I think so. So for now. So remember, guys, come in, hang out with us on Thursday for the live show. It'll be yesterday. If you were listening to the show, the live show, jump on over here and comment below in the video and say, hey, we enjoyed being on the live with you guys yesterday. Join in with the community every Thursday as you can get together. Sometimes there's guest speakers. Sometimes it's just wide open Q&A and hanging out and public involvement. So jump in. I believe we're going to try to get Travis on this week coming up. Oh, good deal. This week, yes. Travis is always fun. Travis is always a good time. Well, we have some interesting footage. There's interesting, not footage, but interesting audio from there. That was really fun. That we're going to be talking about, and there's a few other things. I blame the Ottman. I don't know what it is. But yeah, guys, come hang out with us every Thursday and then join us for the podcast week in, week out. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. Can't wait to see you out on the road. So stoked to get show season kicked off this week. And can't wait to see everybody. It's just going to be that. We're also planning a live and in-person show to do one day. Possibly, yes. Yep, we're working on that, getting the kinks ironed out, and we're going to do a live in-person show. That's the goal. This will be the first episode, by the way, of season 4, just to let you guys know. Sweet. Yes. Well, guys, thanks for joining us again. Y'all are awesome. You are why we do this. And remember, even though you might not believe in Bigfoot, Bigfoot believes in you guys. He's always there. Both thumbs up. Big old feet right behind you. Yep. Support all the way. Stay wild and weird, everybody.